My name is Claire Thompson. I'm 22, a college student working toward a degree in biomedical research. I've spent the last 4 years pouring every ounce of my energy into my studies, working part-time to pay my bills, and dreaming of a future I thought my mother would support. But then she said we just can't afford your tuition this semester. And suddenly, everything I believed about her, about family, felt like a lie. Hashtag my mother said she couldn't afford my tuition. Then I saw her name on the donation wall. I sat in my cramped apartment, staring at the email on my laptop screen. The words blurred together, but one sentence burned into my mind. We regret to inform you that your account balance must be cleared before registration. I'd called Mom 3 times that week. Each time she'd sighed and said the same thing. Sweetheart, we just can't afford it right now. My throat tightened. I was Natalie Brooks, 22 years old, 3 semesters away from my biomedical research degree. I'd worked every summer, saved every penny, and believed my mother would help when I needed it most. Now, looking at that email, I felt something crack inside me. My roommate, Ashley, walked past, coffee in hand. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded, unable to speak. Later that evening, she mentioned something casually. "Did you see the new donor wall by the library?" I hadn't. But suddenly I needed to. Thank you for listening to my story. I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop a comment below. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell so you never miss the next one. Every share helps these stories reach someone who needs to hear them. Let's keep the conversation going. The next morning, I walked across campus with my heart pounding in my chest. Students rushed past me, laughing and chatting about their classes. I barely noticed them. The donor wall stood near the library entrance, gleaming marble with gold lettering. I approached slowly, scanning the names alphabetically. When I reached the B section, my breath caught. There it was, Victoria Brooks, Distinguished Benefactor, $50,000. My mother's name. My legs felt weak. I read it again, then again, hoping I'd made a mistake. But no. The engraving was permanent, official, impossible to deny. She'd donated $50,000 to this university while telling me she couldn't afford my $12,000 tuition. My hands shook as I pulled out my phone and took a picture. Rage bubbled in my chest, hot and suffocating. How could she? Why would she lie? I didn't go to class that day. Instead, I sat on a bench near the wall, staring at her name until the letters seemed to float. Students passed by, some stopping to admire the donor's generosity. If only they knew. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. "Hope you're having a good day, honey." I wanted to throw my phone across the quad, but I didn't. I took a deep breath and typed back, "Can we talk tonight? It's important." She replied immediately, "Of course. I'll call you at 7. I shoved my phone in my pocket and headed back to my apartment. Ashley was making dinner when I walked in. She took one look at my face and asked, "What happened?" I showed her the photo. Her jaw dropped. "You're kidding." I shook my head. I wish I was. At 7 o'clock sharp, Mom called. Her voice was cheerful, oblivious. "Hi, sweetheart. How are classes going?" I cut straight to it. "Mom, I saw the donor wall today." Silence. Then carefully, "Oh, that's nice. They did a beautiful job with it, didn't they?" My grip tightened on the phone. "Your name is on it. $50,000. Another pause. "Well, yes. I made a donation last year. It was for the new library wing." My voice cracked. "You told me you couldn't afford my tuition." She sighed, and I heard the familiar tone of someone preparing an excuse. "Natalie, that money was earmarked for a specific purpose. It's not the same as paying tuition. I couldn't just redirect it." Fury surged through me. "You chose the library over your own daughter?" She bristled. "Don't be dramatic. This isn't about choosing anything." We argued for 20 minutes. She insisted I didn't understand how donations worked, how commitments were made, how she'd planned this contribution for years. I insisted she betrayed me. Finally, exhausted, I hung up. I sat on my bed, tears streaming down my face. Ashley knocked softly and came in, sitting beside me without a word. She lied, I whispered. She had the money. She just didn't want to spend it on me. Ashley hugged me tightly. Then prove you don't need her, she said quietly. Show her you can do this on your own. I wiped my eyes. She was right. I couldn't change what Mom had done, but I could control what happened next. That night, I made a decision. I would finish my degree without her help. And somehow, I'd make sure she knew exactly what she'd done. Growing up, Mom always had high standards. She loved appearances. The perfect house, the perfect car, the perfect image. I'd spent my childhood trying to meet those standards, but I never quite measured up. My older brother Nathan was her golden child. Star athlete, charismatic, effortlessly popular. I was the quiet one, the bookworm, the one she introduced with a slightly apologetic smile. This is Natalie. She's very studious, as if being smart was something to excuse. I remembered her words from high school. You'll never be like your brother, Natalie. But that's okay. Not everyone can shine. Those words had stung then. Now, they fueled me. I enrolled in summer classes to catch up on credits. I picked up extra shifts at the campus bookstore. I applied for every scholarship I could find. My classmates talked about spring break trips and weekend parties. I worked. One evening, my professor Dr. Hamilton asked me to stay after class. She was a sharp woman in her 50s, known for her no-nonsense approach. Natalie, you're one of my strongest students, she said, adjusting her glasses. Have you applied for the Merit Achievement Scholarship? I shook my head. I'd never heard of it. She handed me a flyer. It's competitive, but you have a real shot. Full tuition coverage plus a stipend for research. My heart raced. Really? She nodded. Applications are due next month. I'll write you a recommendation. I left her office feeling something I hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. That night, I stayed up until 3 in the morning working on my application. Every word mattered. Every sentence was a step toward independence. When I finally submitted it, I felt a small spark of control returning. Weeks passed. I threw myself into my studies, barely speaking to Mom beyond polite texts. She tried calling several times, but I let them go to voicemail. I wasn't ready to hear her voice. Then, on a rainy Tuesday afternoon, I received an email. Subject line, Merit Achievement Scholarship, congratulations. My hands trembled as I opened it. Dear Ms. Brooks, we are pleased to inform you that you have been selected as this year's recipient. I read the words 3 times before they sank in. I'd won. Full tuition. Research stipend. Everything I needed. I jumped up from my desk, startling Ashley in the next room. I got it. I shouted. I got the scholarship. She screamed and hugged me, both of us jumping around like kids. For the first time since seeing that donor wall, I felt genuinely happy. I didn't need Mom's money anymore. I decided not to tell Mom immediately. Instead, I let her keep calling, keep offering half-hearted suggestions about community college or taking a semester off. Each time I said I was figuring things out. The truth was, I was already registered for next semester, my tuition covered, my future secure. But I wanted her to sit with her decision a little longer. One Sunday, she invited me to lunch. I almost declined, but curiosity won. We met at an upscale cafe downtown, the kind of place she loved because important people went there. She looked perfect as always. Tailored dress, expensive jewelry, hairstyled flawlessly. You look tired, honey, she said, eyeing my simple jeans and sweater. I shrugged. I've been working a lot. She nodded sympathetically. Maybe it's time to consider other options. Your father and I were thinking... I interrupted her. I'm fine, Mom. Everything's handled. She blinked, surprised. What do you mean handled? I took a sip of my coffee, savoring the moment. I received a full scholarship. Merit-based. Covers everything. Her face went through several expressions. Shock, confusion, something that might have been pride, and finally, something harder to read. That's wonderful, she said slowly. When did this happen? A few weeks ago. She set down her fork. A few weeks? Why didn't you tell me? I met her eyes. Because you didn't seem very concerned about my education when I needed you. The words hung between us. Her jaw tightened. Natalie, that's not fair. I explained about the donation. You chose a building over your daughter, I said quietly. That's what happened. Now I don't need your help. I left cash on the table and walked out, my heart pounding but my head high. Spring semester started, and I dove into my research with renewed energy. My scholarship included access to the university's top lab facilities. I was working on cellular regeneration projects that could revolutionize wound healing. It was challenging, exhausting, and absolutely thrilling. Dr. Hamilton became my unofficial mentor, introducing me to other researchers and pushing me to present at conferences. "You have real potential," she told me one afternoon. "Don't waste it." I thought about Mom's words from years ago. "You'll never shine." I was shining now, brighter than she'd ever imagined. One evening, Ashley showed me a university newsletter. There was an article about the new library wing. Mom's donation had funded it. The piece included quotes from her about investing in education and supporting future generations. I laughed bitterly. The hypocrisy was stunning. Then I learned about the Benefactors Gala. Every year, the university hosted an elegant event to recognize major donors and celebrate student achievements. This year's theme was Investment in Excellence. Mom would definitely be there. Her donation guaranteed her a seat at the VIP table. But here was the interesting part. Scholarship recipients were invited too. We were supposed to mingle with donors, representing the success stories their money created. I received my invitation in March. Ashley saw my face when I read it. "What's wrong?" I showed her the card. She grinned slowly. "Oh, this is perfect." I shook my head, but I was smiling too. "I shouldn't go. It's just asking for drama." "No," Ashley said firmly. "You should absolutely go. Show her exactly who you are now." She was right. I RSVP'd yes. I spent the next month preparing, not just for the gala, but for everything it represented. I worked with Dr. Hamilton to develop a presentation about my research. I practiced my speech until every word was natural. I bought a simple but elegant black dress. Nothing flashy, just professional and confident. The night before the gala, I barely slept. Part of me was excited. Part of me was terrified. What would I say to Mom? How would she react? Would she even recognize what I'd accomplished? Ashley helped me get ready, fixing my hair and reassuring me. "You look amazing," she said. "And you've earned this. Remember that." I nodded, taking a deep breath. This wasn't about revenge. This was about truth. The truth that I'd succeeded despite her, not because of her. The truth that her donation hadn't helped me at all. My own hard work had. The gala was held in the university's grand ballroom, all crystal chandeliers and marble floors. I arrived fashionably late, scanning the crowd. There were hundreds of people, donors in expensive suits and gowns, faculty in academic regalia, students in their best outfits. And there, near the front, was Mom. She wore a stunning navy dress, diamonds at her throat, laughing with a group of other donors. She looked like she belonged there, like she was exactly where she deserved to be. I felt a flash of the old insecurity, the old feeling that I'd never measure up. Then I remembered the scholarship letter, the research I'd published, the life I'd built without her. I straightened my shoulders and walked in. A server offered champagne. I took a glass, more for something to hold than to drink. The program director spotted me and waved me over. "Natalie, I'm so glad you could make it," Dr. Stevens said warmly. She was the woman who'd signed my scholarship letter, a tall woman with kind eyes. "We're very excited about your presentation tonight." I smiled. "Thank you for the opportunity." She gestured toward the stage. "You're on right after dinner. We'll introduce the scholarship recipients and highlight your research. It's exactly the kind of success story we want donors to hear." My stomach flipped. I glanced toward Mom's table. She hadn't seen me yet. "Will there be Q&A?" I asked. Dr. Stevens nodded. "Brief. Mostly we want you to share your journey, the challenges you faced, how the scholarship changed things." "Oh, I had a journey to share." "I'm ready," I said. Dinner was served. Fancy courses I barely tasted. I was too aware of Mom, 3 tables away, still oblivious to my presence. Finally, dessert ended. Dr. Stevens took the stage, welcoming everyone and thanking the donors for their incredible generosity. She talked about the library wing, mentioning Mom by name. I watched Mom stand briefly, smiling graciously as people applauded. She loved this. The recognition. The prestige. Then Dr. Stevens said, "And now I'd like to introduce someone who represents exactly why your donations matter. One of our Merit Achievement Scholarship recipients, Ms. Natalie Brooks." The room applauded as I walked to the stage. I saw the exact moment Mom recognized me. Her smile froze. Her hand, holding a wine glass, stopped halfway to her lips. Her eyes went wide. I stepped up to the microphone, my heart hammering but my voice steady. "Thank you, Dr. Stevens. Good evening, everyone." I looked directly at Mom. "I'm honored to be here tonight." I told my story simply. I talked about my passion for biomedical research, my dreams of making a difference in wound healing technology. I mentioned my part-time jobs, my late nights studying, my determination to finish my degree. "This scholarship changed everything," I said. I was facing a choice, drop out or find another way. I couldn't afford tuition. I paused, letting that sink in. Several donors nodded sympathetically. But the Merit Achievement Scholarship gave me the opportunity to continue. It wasn't just about money. It was about someone believing in my potential. Mom's face had gone pale. She knew what was coming. "It's interesting," I continued, my voice still calm. "Sometimes the people who should believe in you most are the ones who don't. And sometimes, strangers show more faith in your future than family does." The room was silent now, everyone listening intently. I transitioned into talking about my research, showing slides of cellular regeneration, explaining the potential applications in a way everyone could understand. The audience was captivated. When I finished, the applause was thunderous. Dr. Stevens hugged me as I stepped off the stage. "That was perfect," she whispered. Several donors approached me immediately, asking questions about my work, offering connections to research facilities and funding opportunities. I answered professionally, my mind split between the conversations and Mom's frozen expression across the room. Finally, she stood and walked toward me. The donors around me sensed something and stepped back politely. "Natalie," Mom said, her voice tight. That was quite a speech. I met her eyes. "Thank you." She lowered her voice. "Did you really need to say that? About family?" I shrugged slightly. "I only told the truth." Her jaw clenched. "You made me look bad. In front of everyone." I felt a spark of anger. "I made you look bad? Mom, you put your name on a wall for donating $50,000, then told me you couldn't afford $12,000 for my tuition. You did that. Not me." People nearby were definitely listening now, pretending to be interested in their phones or drinks, but clearly tuned into our conversation. Mom's face flushed. "It's not that simple." "It is that simple," I said quietly. "You chose your reputation over your daughter. And tonight, people got to see both choices." She opened her mouth, closed it, then turned and walked away quickly, grabbing her purse from her table. I watched her leave the ballroom, her heels clicking sharply against the marble. My hands were shaking, but I felt strangely calm. Dr. Hamilton appeared at my elbow. "You okay?" she asked gently. I nodded. "Yeah, I think I am." The rest of the evening passed in a blur. More conversations, more connections, more opportunities. A researcher from a major hospital invited me to apply for their summer internship program. A professor from another university asked if I'd considered graduate school. By the time the gala ended, I had a stack of business cards and a head full of possibilities. Ashley was waiting up when I got home. "How did it go?" I collapsed on the couch and told her everything. She listened, eyes wide, occasionally gasping. "You actually said that? In front of everyone?" I nodded. "I probably shouldn't have." "No," she said firmly. "You absolutely should have." She needed to hear it. My phone buzzed. A text from Nathan, my brother. "Mom just called me crying." "What happened?" I stared at the message, then set my phone down. "I'd deal with that tomorrow." The next few weeks were strange. Mom didn't call. Nathan texted several times, trying to mediate, but I kept my responses brief. I focused on my internship application, my research, my classes. Then the university newsletter came out. There was a photo from the gala, me at the podium mid-speech, looking confident and professional. The caption read, "Scholarship recipient Natalie Brooks shares her research journey." The article quoted parts of my speech, including the line about strangers having more faith than family. Comments on the online version were supportive. People talked about the importance of merit-based aid, about students who succeeded against the odds. Someone wrote, "This is exactly why donations matter, not for buildings, but for students like Natalie." I wondered if Mom had seen it. Then my phone rang. Her name on the screen. I hesitated, then answered. "Hi, Mom." Her voice was strained. "Natalie, we need to talk." We met at a small coffee shop near campus, neutral territory. She looked tired, less polished than usual. We sat across from each other, coffee growing cold between us. "I'm sorry," she said finally. "I should have helped you with tuition." I waited. "But you have to understand, the donation was complicated. It was tied up in tax planning and, Mom," I interrupted gently. "It doesn't matter anymore." She blinked. "What?" "The reasons don't matter. What matters is that I needed help. You said no, and I found another way. I'm doing fine now. Better than fine, actually." She looked down at her hands. "I know. I saw the newsletter. Your presentation was impressive." Something in her tone made me soften slightly. This was the closest she'd ever come to real praise. "Thank you," I said quietly. We talked for an hour, more honestly than we had in years. She admitted she'd always seen me as less capable than Nathan, less likely to succeed. "You were so quiet," she said. "I worried you wouldn't know how to fight for yourself." I smiled sadly. "I learned." She reached across the table, hesitating, then took my hand. "I'm proud of you, Natalie." I should have said that more. It wasn't everything. It didn't erase the hurt or the betrayal. But it was something. When we left the coffee shop, I felt lighter. Not forgiven, not yet. But maybe eventually we could build something new. Something more honest. That summer, I got the hospital internship. My research paper was accepted for publication. I moved into a better apartment, one I could afford with my stipend. Mom sent a card, "Congratulations. I always knew you could shine." I kept it on my desk. By fall, life had settled into a new rhythm. I was back on campus, now mentoring younger students who struggled with finances. I told them about scholarships they'd never heard of, about professors who might help, about resources the university didn't advertise well. One girl, Taylor, reminded me of myself. Quiet, hardworking, determined. She'd just learned her family couldn't help with tuition. "What do I do?" she asked, tears in her eyes. I handed her the Merit Achievement Scholarship application. "You fight. You find another way. And you remember, your worth isn't determined by who's willing to pay for you." She looked up at me, hope flickering. "Really?" I nodded. "Really? I'm proof." Dr. Hamilton stopped by my lab one afternoon. "I heard you're helping students with scholarship applications now." I shrugged. "Just passing it forward." She smiled. "That's exactly what we need more of." 6 months later, I walked past the donor wall again. Mom's name was still there, gleaming in gold. But now it didn't hurt. I'd spent so long angry at that wall, at what it represented. Now I saw it differently. Yes, she donated to the library instead of helping me. But in a twisted way that had forced me to become stronger, more independent, more determined. I'd built my own success, earned my own recognition, created my own future. Nobody could take that from me. My phone buzzed with a text from Taylor. "I got the scholarship. Thank you for believing in me." I smiled. That was what mattered. Not the names on walls or the money in bank accounts, but the lives we changed, the dreams we protected, the students we helped succeed. I took one last look at Mom's name, then walked away toward the lab. I had work to do. Real work that actually helped people, that made a difference, that meant something beyond appearances. And I'd done it all myself.